Welcome to this short tutorial exploring the distinctive pedagogies of mobile learning. This video deals with the topic of agency, examining how the use of mobile devices like the iPad can enhance the amount of agency or choice that learners have, both inside and outside of the classroom, particularly when they have access to a personal device. I'm guessing many of you will be familiar with this YouTube video which shows a young child playing with her iPad. I selected it because it demonstrates really well what we mean by agency, and increasingly students, in this case a very young baby, expect to be able to control the devices, to control their environments. And here we can see a baby, very young baby, starting to understand what it means to actually be able to control and direct actions as a result of what she does with her fingers. So this is the concept of agency, and it's a very important concept to learners. The more we can enable our learners to feel that they have control or choice over the learner, the greater the degree of engagement and motivation is likely to be in the learning process itself. Agency is about the volume of choice students are able to exercise when they are learning, and this includes concepts such as self-regulation and autonomy. Increasing the amount of choice or agency which students enjoy is generally regarded as a positive step, since it engages and motivates learners and encourages them to be less reliant on the direction and the control of a teacher. Learners can enjoy a high degree of agency in appropriately designed mobile learning scenarios, where the technology enables them to make more choices than might otherwise be the case. These choices include place. Giving students a mobile device with internet connectivity frees the student from having to work in a dedicated room. And indeed the notion of space itself begins to be questioned, as we can see in this clip, where students have chosen to work outside of a room, in the corridor, along with their peers. In this example, the place is a physical one inside the school, but mobile devices also give students choices about virtual spaces, such as their online social networks, Facebook for example, or some of the games they play, such as Minecraft. When students have access to a powerful creative tool like an iPad, they also gain access to more choices and decisions about how they will undertake a particular task, and we're referring here to the content and purpose of their learning. Depending on how the teacher structures a particular learning episode, students could be free to choose from a wide range of different activities to demonstrate their understanding. In our recent study of iPads in Scotland, for example, it was evident in many schools that students were beginning to move away from simply writing their responses in exercise books, and they were beginning to explore different options, such as producing a short video or an animation, or a sound recording such as a podcast. These are just a few of probably hundreds if not thousands of different opportunities enabled through apps and tools which give learners more choice about how they undertake a task and how they present their work to others, including the teacher. Personal ownership of a device like the iPad invites learners to take greater control over the timing and pace of their learning. In traditional classrooms, for example, the lesson moves along at a standard pace, often dictated by the teacher. If every student has access to a mobile device, however, there is no longer a necessity to move, and this technique of taking learners along at the same pace becomes redundant. Take, for example, the use of video in classrooms. Traditionally, video has been shown by the teacher to the whole class at the pace determined by the teacher, not the learner. When every student has a personal device which is capable of playing video, they can take over the pace and timing of the learning episode, pausing and reviewing the video at their leisure when they need to. There are plenty of other examples where the pace of learning becomes more one of individual choice, and the role of the teacher is modified to accommodate these choices. Additionally, there is the wider question about the appropriateness of structures such as lesson times, the length of the school day, and the notion that all learning must be structured and predetermined by the teacher. When students have a personal device, it is evident they use it for learning beyond the formal hours set by the school timetable, and they will often access learning materials or activities at times which suit them, according to their own choice and preferences. So what are the implications of providing students with mobile devices in terms of agency or the degree of choice they have in their own learning? Our research undertaken in Scotland and elsewhere indicates that agency is an important factor and expands quickly when students have access to a personal device like the iPad. But this is facilitated by appropriate teacher activity. The technology itself will have little or no impact, for example, if the teacher dictates that all students undertake activities or tasks in a manner determined by them. Therefore, this particular pedagogy is closely linked with teachers' beliefs and values about how students learn and how far this can be undertaken autonomously without rigid direction or control from the teacher. Teachers therefore need to consider very carefully how they will structure learning in terms of agency and choice, and this should be part of a wider consideration that goes beyond simply using the mobile device in isolation. We are particularly interested in exploring and developing this strand of the research, and we're looking to develop learning activities and strategies which combine with the apps and the tools to enhance the amount of choice learners are able to exercise about what, how, where and when they learn. We want to explore and develop designs with teachers that might be applied to other contexts, and this strand is likely to require a lot of contextual background about the learning and the scenario that the learning was set in order that it can be transferred to other teachers in other contexts.